Hi, recently I made a video about self-love, talking about what self-love is, what it isn't, why we don't love ourselves, and how that impacts our life. And today I want to talk about how to love yourself truly, deeply, more naturally. Research shows that having self-compassion and kindness towards yourself helps you build habits that support your mental and physical health. I am sure that some of you noticed that you are not being very kind to yourself. You're not giving yourself attention and love and care that you need and deserve, and you made some attempts to change that. Maybe you developed some routines, maybe you started going to the gym, maybe you're taking bubble baths or reading more or spending time with friends more. And all of those things are amazing and good for you, but oftentimes, and that I noticed that's from my own experience. I noticed that when things are good, it's really easy to feel good about myself and love myself. But when I encounter some difficulty, some criticism, maybe something didn't work out the way I thought, maybe I made a wrong decision and now I have to deal with consequences, that's where it all crumbles down. And that's where I see that deep down, nothing has really changed. I just developed some healthy routines and maybe healthier habits, but deep down to the core, I still feel the same about myself. We often think that if we are critical and negative towards ourselves, if we tell ourselves like, you're not working hard enough, you're lazy, that was a wrong decision, how could you do that? Then you will work harder the next time, or you will make better decisions. And I feel like that's how we were raised too. Rather than being praised for the good stuff, we were criticized for the bad stuff. So our parents made sure that we don't make the same mistakes over and over again. But that's actually works the opposite way. We get very negative about ourselves. We feel down and we don't even want to take on another, decision making or another adventures in our life. One of the most important aspects of self-love and self-acceptance is to accept that we are a unique being in the world. And I know that sounds kind of cheesy and maybe funny, like you are unique, you're all one of a kind, but that's actually true. Like there isn't anybody that is like you. And if you have certain quirks, or if there are things that you don't like about yourself, or maybe, I don't know, your face is round like mine, or you have big hands or something, and you hate that, and you constantly notice that, and you try to change it, and you fight with it, and I'm just talking about what we see. It might be something that you do, it might be something that is your habit, or something that is a part of your personality, and you feel like you need to change that, and you constantly fight for changing that. But actually, if you accept it and you realize, hey, that actually is my biggest compliment. Like that's the best thing about me, is that I am the way I am, and I'm very unique, and I have things about me that nobody else has. Now, something that I do want to point out is that loving yourself, accepting yourself, doesn't mean that you think you're perfect. Healthy dose of self-criticism is actually good for you. It's good to see the things that you need to change. It's good to see your negative, maybe toxic habits and things that are worth focusing on. If there is anything that you want to change, I would want it for you the change comes from a place of love. I love myself. I want to be happier. I want to be more fulfilled. That's why I need to change those things about myself that are keeping me away from the things that I want. It will be really helpful to do lots of self-development through reading, through courses, listening to YouTube, meditations, where you learn more about yourself, more about your personality, more about the things that you like, more about the things that you don't like. And that's where you explore who you are and why you are the way you are, and maybe the things that you thought are really negative about yourself because you are very sensitive and you are very empathetic, or maybe you are, I don't know, loud and very charismatic, and you thought that this is negative about you because people are annoyed with you. But maybe that's actually your biggest strength, and you can kind of channel it for your own good instead of being critical of yourself. One of the most important parts of building a better relationship with yourself is challenging the negative self-talk. Self-talk is the dialogue you have with yourself, and the negative self-talk is where you are your own critic, where you constantly criticize yourself, and that restricts your ability to accept and believe in yourself. Negative self-talk is so bad for your brain. It encourages higher levels of neurochemicals that forge destructive networks within the brain. So then you start overthinking, you have anxiety, depression, issues with sleeping, you're constantly predicting the negative things that could happen to you or other people. So what do you say to yourself in your own head creates your feelings. And then the feelings create your behavior. Oftentimes, it seems like the negative thought is a part of us. It's very deeply seated. It's the way I've been for years, and it's so hard to change that because that's the way I operate. I don't even notice when I do this. And that comes from our childhood, that comes from how we were talked to, how we listen our parents to talk to themselves and other people. The more we think about something, the more our brain starts to notice the proof for it. Basically, if you constantly tell yourself something negative about yourself, then your brain is going to start to pick and choose different evidence for it to be true. So if you make a little mistake and you think in yourself, I'm always so clumsy, I always make these stupid mistakes, I hate myself, how can I do this? And if you think that often, you will notice a lot of these clumsy little mistakes that we all do because we're not perfect. Instead, you can tell yourself, well, I gotta try again. Sometimes I make silly mistakes like everybody, but I'm working on being more attentive with my work. Cognitive behavior therapy is something that is going to have a wonderful impact on your negative self-talk. It basically helps you notice when you have these distorted views and thoughts of yourself and challenge them and change them, and most importantly, replace them with something that is actually realistic and beneficial to you. Using positive affirmations, even writing them down in your journal, having those, like maybe a sticker on your water bottle where you see it often, to just keep those positive thoughts in your brain, so then your brain starts to kind of focus on the positive things more. And obviously, we're not just perfect. We do make mistakes, but if you focus on those things all the time, then you'll keep seeing them. Therapy, meditation, journaling, all of these things can be very helpful as well. Mindfulness meditation is something that has helped me learn how to see my thoughts and my behavior from a distance. So kind of take a step back and look at myself and see, hey, is this rational and realistic, or am I being a little crazy about myself right now? Am I being really negative and that what I'm doing is not making any sense and is not beneficial to me whatsoever? I also came up with like a response to where I catch myself with negative self-talk, with destructive self-talk, and then I replace that. So I would recommend maybe coming up with like one line of something that you say to yourself that will kind of counteract when you experience that negative self-talk. It could be, I am not going to be negative towards myself. I love myself. I am worthy. I have lots of amazing qualities and I deserve the absolute best. And the last, and I think maybe the most important, it's hard to say. It's hard to say what's the most important, but this is very important. Self-discipline. Now, when we hear the word discipline, what does that have to do with self-love? Love is fluffy, is sweet, is kind, is comfortable. And discipline sounds rigid, structured. It doesn't sound like anything beneficial to self-love, right? I have found that self-discipline teaches us how to trust ourselves. And by trusting yourself in doing what you said you're gonna do, you start to respect yourself more. You feel more whole, more worthy, just because you said you're gonna do something and you did that. So all of that helps you build self-esteem. I am now a person of my word and I can trust myself. So when then I tell myself, you're worthy, you're loved, you are a wonderful person, you have so much to give, then I can trust that too. So it goes basically by aligning your actions with your thoughts with your action, from thinking to doing to being. And I thought I was working on my self-love because I was journaling, I was working on my hobbies, I was doing the things that I love to do, I was meditating, I was listening to affirmations, I was reading books about self-love. But until I discovered that self-discipline is really what's gonna keep me going, what's gonna keep me accountable, what's gonna help me build a really strong self-esteem, that's where the real changes started to happen. Maybe you have some very annoying, toxic habits, the things that you just hate about yourself, like maybe drinking too much alcohol, drinking too much coffee, eating unhealthy foods too much, being late all the time, picking your skin. That wasn't my thing. I used to pick my skin that was bleeding, and I absolutely was just embarrassed of my hands all the time, and I decided I need to change that, because when I look at my fingers, I'm like, oh my god, again. You have no self-control. Like, really, you have to do this to your own hands? That looks disgusting. You're an adult woman. And that would just keep going and keep going. I knew I needed to change that. That may seem like a little thing, but in the long term is actually a very important aspect of my life. And another part of this is starting to do things that you know that you need to be doing, that are going to be beneficial to you, but you don't feel like doing them, such as going to the gym, exercising. I'm taking showers every day, taking cold showers, maybe meditating. Some things that you think about doing, and you're never doing them because you don't have the discipline to start it and then keep going. So self-discipline helps you rebuild that negative view of yourself by creating healthier habits, by being able to trust yourself. And maybe that sounds very simple, but actually the habits is what creates our life and our personality. For example, if you have a very annoying or negative habit of bringing your phone to your bed and staying up too late and watching YouTube or watching TikTok videos for 2 hours, and you finally focus on that and you change that for good, and you don't do that, now you discover that you're actually more rested, or you're reading a book every evening. You spend an hour reading a book, and you didn't think you have time to read books. Now you do. Now you learn new things. Now you're inspired, and that kind of like spirals into other healthy habits. We tend to think that the people who get up at 5 a.m. and go to the gym and have this healthy lifestyle, they just love it. They wake up happy and they want to be in the cold gym at 6 in the morning, but that's not true. It's the self-discipline to get people started and keeps them going. So even if you don't feel like doing it, you're like, oh, wait a minute, I know that my priorities are that I want to be more self-disciplined. I told myself I'm going to do this, and I am absolutely going to do this, even if nobody's watching, even if nobody is going to see us, no TikTok or Instagram videos, or nobody's going to pay attention to what I'm doing it for me. There is no constant external motivation. The motivation comes from within. I hope you guys found all of this helpful and inspiring. I hope to see you all in the next video, but before that, I want to leave you with this quote from Raphael Rowley that I read in one of his articles, and I think it's very powerful, and I want to leave you with that. True self-love is how you manage yourself in face of adversity, what you're willing to do to create the version of yourself you admire the most. True self-love is hard. It's the hardest yet most rewarding thing you can ever do. I hope you guys found this helpful, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.